Hello, everybody. Let's open with our prayers and we'll do some rejoicing. You can hear me okay? All right. Okay. Now, first we'll offer the mandala. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Well, it's great to see everybody. It's been a while for some of them. Let's start rejoicing with Yevgeny.
Всем здравствуйте.
Hello,
Я радуюсь
everyone.
сегодня тому, что
I am
мы
rejoicing
наконец
today that
возобновляем курсы ACI.
we
И
resume
такой
our
важный,
ACI
серьезный
classes,
курс, который
and
ты
we have
Бодхисаттва.
such important course
Я его
as
тоже прохожу сейчас.
Bodhisattva vows,
И
and
я
I
очень рад,
also
что я наконец-то
study this course
мои
now,
семена открываются
and
так, что
I
я
am
могу его
rejoicing
пройти.
that my seeds are ripening, that I can attend this course.
Sorry, I didn't have my interpretation on. Let me get it turned on. Okay.
Evgeny is rejoicing that we are having this, that we are resuming our ACI classes, and we have this important course of Bodhisattva vows, and he is rejoicing that seeds are ripening, that we can study this course together.
Oh, well, good. That comes from your good deeds in the past, ripening in the present. So continue to do good deeds and you'll continue to have classes. So actually, the way to continue to have classes is to help someone else get something they need. But we'll be talking about that today a bit. Okay, who's next? Let's go with Tatiana.
Добрый вечер. Лама
Good
Сумати,
evening,
добрый вечер.
Lama Sumati.
Я
Good evening,
тоже рада видеть.
friends. I'm
Видела
also happy to see
каникулы.
everyone 2 months of holidays.
У меня получается так, что я уже на
I
третий круг
managed that
захожу седьмого курса.
it's my third time of studying the
Сейчас я
7th course.
заканчиваю
Now I'm
курировать
finishing
курс седьмой со студентами.
curating course of 7 with
И опять
students,
прохожу уже
and then
вами, дорогой
we'll
учитель.
study this
Я
course
считаю,
with
что
you,
мне
dear
это
teacher.
очень нужно.
And I think that I need it very much.
На ретрит, когда был Будда медицины, я приняла
When there
обет
was a retreat of medicine Buddha, I took Bodhisattva vows, and then you gave me layman vows, and then you gave me vows in the form of wish.
Можно их повторить, наверное.
If there is a chance to repeat it, I will be grateful.
Yes, we'll be repeating, giving the vows. Be my honor. Okay. Katerina, what do you have to rejoice in?
I'm glad to see you all. It's fun because when I think about rejoicing, I think that I would show that I'm glad about I still have seeds, I still have karma to hear, to have teachers in my life and have dharma, and I still have a wish, practice and teaching.
Well, I'm very happy to be here to teach, and I'll teach as long as my health allows me to do so. So, okay, who's next? Katya, you're next.
Hi, hello, good morning. Well, I rejoice that I had the opportunity and the fortune to start my year in retreat with Lama Sumati, Lama Sarani, and a very beautiful Sangha. And I rejoice about the teachings and the practice that we did to be a better person and to be able to help others. And I rejoice in the fun that we had in the retreat.
That we did. We were in, well, I'll talk about it after we finish rejoicing. Okay, Daria, what do you have to rejoice in?
Good morning, Venerable Lama Sumati. I rejoiced first, I can see you and you continue to teach us. For me, it's a big rejoice. And second, thanks to you, I write to Lama Sarani and she helped me with the practice Ganden Halagyama. It's very helpful me. And third, I and Tatiana have been doing a marathon, Tonglen, and energy practice for peace. And we do every day. And today it was 40 days. We
Wow.
do every day practice for peace.
Wow, well, thank you. That's what's going to make the world settle down and be a nicer place to live. So thank you for doing that. You're setting wonderful seeds for your future, and you're hopefully solving the problems we're facing. So thank you. Keep it up for forever. Okay, Anna, what do you have to rejoice in?
Hello everyone, hello dear Lama Sumati. About my rejoicing, maybe mainly I rejoice that some tasks on studying platform are finished. It was a pretty long way, but we did it. Some improvements according letters and certificates. What else? I also rejoice of the weather. Today we have pretty warm weather and it's a bit weird for winter. Snow and +9. Interesting story this year, but very nice weather, very clear sky. So I also rejoice about it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for all the work you're doing. And finally, last but not least, Svetlana.
Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. I'm also rejoicing that we are get together and we are having these wonderful classes of ACI 7. And maybe I'm rejoicing in good people in my life, that I have teachers, I have parents, close ones, and colleagues and friends, and all of them wish me happiness and teaching me, and I am rejoicing in all the precious people in my life.
Good. That's very joyful. Okay, my turn. Well, I have a lot to rejoice about. Since we last met, we went to Barcelona to do the Heart Sutra. We went to Guatemala to initiate 2 students into the Tantric path. Well, they're already in the Tantric path. We initiated them into the Vajrayogini practice. I got to see a volcano erupting. That was fun. And then we came home for a couple of weeks, and then we went down to Mexico. And I had no idea Mexico City was as huge as it is and covers so much territory. We were 2 hours away from the airport, still in Mexico City. Well, they call it Mexico City. We were up in the mountains at 10,000 feet. It was cold, but it was a really unique environment. And we had a lot of fun. We ate some really wonderful food and got a very sweet practice for my on meditation, details of meditation from my lovely wife. So that was a lot of fun. And Katya and Sheila were extraordinarily attentive to my needs. So I really appreciate that. Although Sheila, well, I won't tell them about what Sheila did. So what else? My health is okay. We've been playing around with my medication and trying to get a slightly better recipe of medication. So far, I haven't really been able to do that, but I feel pretty good. So what else did I want to? Oh, rejoicing. I finally got the German material into the book of lists. So now we have German, Russian, Spanish, English, Chinese. So it was interesting. I usually write a cheat sheet, what I call a cheat sheet. So I know how to enter data into something like that again. This time I didn't do it, so I had to call upon the lady who built the website for me, and she was very gracious to Zoom with me yesterday, and I re-educated myself. So I wrote the cheat sheet. So now I can add more languages if we need to. But some people are actually using it. So that's good to know. So, I know what else. We're going to be teaching in Romania and Armenia in August, the source of all my good. We were going to teach source of all my good and death meditation, but then the students in Barcelona were upset because they didn't know which one to take. So we're teaching source of all my good in both locations. And we'll be there pretty much the month of August. So come to Romania. I think that's the August 1st through about the 13th, or come to Armenia. That's from the 15th to the 24th, roughly. And it should be a lot of fun. Source of all my goods, a very interesting practice. So we'll do a 3-day Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday teaching of the core material. And then those that can stay for the retreat will go into each of the rooms and details in much more detail. So that should be fun. I'm hoping my health is such that I can do that. I'm planning on it. So what else to rejoice about? Well, I think that's about it. Oh, I had one more thing happen. I woke up and found out my right foot had purple toes. You can imagine how surprising that would be if you get out of bed and see your foot's got purple toes. So I was worried about it, but nothing I could do until I got home. So I had went and had an ultrasound done to check the circulation in my feet, and the circulation's fine. So the doctors aren't sure why my my toes turned purple, but if the circulation's good in my feet, then what's to worry about? So that was a bit of a shock. Okay, well, so now we're on to course 7, Bodhisattva vows. I would like you to leave this class tonight understanding the importance of the subject and also a bit about taking the vows. This course is about learning the Bodhisattva vows and how to put them into practice. So we need to start with our motivation. And if some of you have taken more in one of my classes, you know I like lists. So we're not going to go nuts with the list, but here goes. There's the easiest list, the 2 kinds of suffering. Who can tell me what the 2 kinds of suffering are? Anybody? Don't be shy. Well, okay, nobody can. 2 kinds of suffering are suffering of this life and the suffering of death. The 3 kinds of suffering are who can tell me the 3 kinds of suffering? Go ahead, Katya.
In Russian.
Okay.
Мы страдаем, потому что
We are
когда мы
suffering
рождаемся,
because when we are born, we are suffering.
мы страдаем от того, что всё меняется,
Then we are
перемены,
suffering
наша жизнь, всё теряется,
because
прошлое
everything
и
is changing.
когда
We are losing
мы
everything
умираем,
good,
и
and we are
умираем,
suffering
мы
when
можем
we are
ничего
dying.
взять с
And
собой.
when we are dying, we can't take anything with ourselves.
Даже мы не помним своей прошлой жизни,
Even we
людей,
don't remember our past lives, people, anything.
Well, that's not the list of 3 I was looking for, but it's an interesting grouping of many of the lists. But it's okay. I like that list. Maybe I'll add that. The 3 sufferings I was interested in are the suffering of suffering, so that's obvious pain. Then there's suffering of change, and we call that, my wife and I call that, there's ice cream and then it's gone, or there's chocolate and then it's gone. You have chocolate, you're enjoying it, and then it's all gone. The suffering of changes. Well, all the chocolate's gone. The pleasure we derive in all our past lives is an impure pleasure, and that it comes from deeds of ignorant liking and hence wears out. Geshe calls this dirty good karma. It's like honey on a razor blade. That just gives me the creeps thinking about it. If you were licking honey on a razor blade, you'd taste the sweet honey and then you'd cut your tongue. Ew, I don't like that. I like it better. First there's ice cream and then it's gone. The last one, so we have suffering of suffering, suffering of change, and the last one is pervasive suffering. Our very nature being born and immediately faced with death, constantly at the back of our minds. I must admit, I didn't really think about death. When did I first start really thinking about death? I can't remember. When you're 15, 16 years old, you don't think you can die. I don't, I have to think more about that. But pervasive suffering is the fact that once we're born, we could die at any minute. So that's in the back of our minds, maybe after 20, 25 years of age. That's in the back of your mind. Or if you know someone who dies when you're younger, that might trigger it. But I think there's another pervasive suffering, and this is just me. This isn't in the scriptures, but I offer it as another example. The other pervasive suffering is the constant surprise in this life for the next karma that's going to ripen. We just don't know what we did in previous lives to be able to know what is next. So I don't take that as, I really don't take that as a suffering. I take that as interesting. It's a surprise. What's going to happen in the next hour? But I want to be sure you understand that other aspect of pervasive suffering is my interpretation. It's not part of the scriptures. There's something I've said more than once, and you're probably tired of hearing it, but I like saying it, so I'm going to say it anyway. You must think of it not as your karma ripening, but instead think of it as your karma ripening so. And in the English language, we can spell sow as S-O-W, sowing seeds, or S-O. So you have to react properly. So for me, I had a pretty good career in science. I couldn't get up early enough or stay late enough at my job. I've written several military histories that have been well received. I had a fantastic opportunity to build a retreat center and had the skills necessary to support it while on 3-year retreat. So I came out of retreat ready to proceed with saving the world by teaching as much as possible. All these things I did for other people, dedicated, and what happened? I almost died from a blood clot, a collapsed lung, and I get Parkinson's disease. So I could look at that all as very depressing, but I looked at it as, instead, I looked at it that I had the karma to survive all those medical issues and to have the karma to have the technology to allow me to continue my teaching and writing since I can't type anymore. So you can look at life, well, what's a good analogy? I could look at the negative things, the Parkinson's, the clots, the medication I have to take, and get depressed, or I can say that's coming from my past deeds. I'm the one to blame for it. So rather than get mad at myself, I'm just going to approach it with humor and realize that what I need to do now is behave in a with wisdom, knowing things are coming from my karma and making sure what I do now is setting the seeds for what I want in the future. And I know I've said this many times, but I really firmly believe it. I could wake up tomorrow morning and not have Parkinson's. My karma for Parkinson's could run out. I could also wake up dead tomorrow for all that matters. But I think I look at it as every morning when I get out of bed, I could not have Parkinson's. And it's from a conventional medical standpoint, people would say that's not possible. Well, that's conventional medicine. I say from a karmic standpoint, it's possible. And so I take each day one at a time and hope that that's going to be true. And when it isn't, I say, well, I've got to do better today, so maybe tomorrow I'll be over it. So there's other lists of suffering we'll go through just briefly. Who can give me the 4 sufferings? List of 4 sufferings. Katya, I know you can do this. No? Okay, Svetlana, can you give me the 4 sufferings? Well, it's a good thing I'm teaching the course then. The 4 sufferings are being born, old age, sickness, and death. Now you wonder why sickness is after old age, because when you're born, there's a chance to get sick before old age. But it's my belief that the reason they're in that order is when you're old, sickness becomes more of a problem. So you're born, the suffering of being born, the suffering of growing old, the suffering of sickness, and the suffering of death. Then the 6 sufferings of Maitreya, Lord Maitreya, nothing is fixed. You're never satisfied. Must shed your body over and over. The suffering of being reborn. The suffering of high comes low, the suffering of change. And at the end, there's no companion to go with you. You die alone. I've been thinking about that lately, and I don't see, well, you die alone and then nobody comes with you. But I think when I die, I'll be, well, there's no one that can come with me except my memories. I'll tell you what, I've made this pledge before. If there's any way possible when I die, I'll let you all know what's going on. You get an email from me or a phone call. You get a TikTok phone call. Okay, 8 types of suffering. Born, old age, sickness, and death. And then the additional 4 are you encounter unpleasant things. You lose what is pleasant, trying and failing to get what you want. And the suffering of simply being a human with all our impure parts. The last one is the list of 10. Hunger and the sufferings of the human realm. Hunger and thirst. Body decays gradually. You're always separated from things you love, especially people. Things you don't like happen to you. Can't get you the things you want, but things you don't want come unexpectedly. Then you have to take birth, get old, get sick, and have to die. So out of all this, it would be easy to say, the goal of Buddhism is often misstated. We are not learning to not react when good or bad happens. We're not just supposed to take good or bad happening. We're trained to react with wisdom. So what's an example from, the retreat we were at in Mexico City. We were at 10,000 feet, which, now this is an interesting thing. 10,000 feet, it was cold. The first night or two, the heating wasn't working where we were staying, and it was just cold. And that was a chance to either react with wisdom or react negatively. And I'm proud to say everybody that I saw or talked to said, okay, it's our karma ripening for not providing comfort for others. We aren't going to react and complain. We'll just get more blankets. And we'll react with wisdom. And sure enough, the heating came on and people were warmer. But that was a wonderful opportunity for the 12 people there. Could have been complaining in between classes or at lunch or dinner or breakfast, and nobody did. It's okay to ask the people that were running the retreat, we need heat in the room. You don't have to say, don't worry about it. But once you've done that, you need to make sure that you help others be comfortable. So that's what everybody did during the retreat. everybody attended to each person's needs, and everybody stayed, I think, pretty warm. So it was a very gratifying exercise to see that everybody could react with wisdom. Okay, so the sufferings from death. The next item in our getting ready for the Bodhisattva vows is to discuss the three poisons. Who can name the three poisons? Tatiana?
Невежественная симпатия,
Ignorant
невежественная
liking,
неприязнь и
ignorant disliking, and ignorance itself.
Very good. Very good. I think of them as desire, ignorance, and anger, but you're right. Ignorant liking, ignorant disliking, and ignorance itself. Now, we think of, well, let's wrap that into the 6 top mental afflictions. 6 top mental afflictions are ignorant desire, ignorant disliking, pride, ignorance of the laws of karma, doubt, and wrong view. Now, when we talk about ignorant desire, ignorant liking, ignorant disliking, I think it's easy. We talk about negative karma and stress the reacting ignorantly to negative karma, blaming others. But when something good happens, we don't talk much about reacting with wisdom to something good happening. So if something good happens, if you're going to react with wisdom, you don't just go, oh, yippee, I got some money. That's great. Instead, you go, because I was generous in the past, because I helped someone with a class, I'm getting teachings now. That's reacting with wisdom instead of just thinking, well, I've studied, I know how to use the computer so I can get on and have class. Pride, mental affliction of pride, I look at that as thinking you deserve something more than someone else does. And that's insidious and dangerous because that leads to jealousy and doing something to get what you want at the expense of somebody else. And doubt, lazy doubt. We're going to talk, well, actually on Friday, we're going to talk about doubt in the Dharma if you're taking a long room course. So this is our condition. We have the sufferings, we have the 3 poisons. And realizing the 4 Arya truths leads us to renunciation. Who can give me the 4 Arya truths? Oh, come on, you guys. Go to my Book of Lists website. You can come get it from that. Okay. Truth of suffering. Truth of the causes of suffering. Truth of the end of suffering. And truth of the path to the end of suffering. This doesn't mean we can't enjoy something. It just means if I enjoy ice cream, it's because I made sure others had enjoyable food. And if I want to continue to have ice cream in my life, I must provide for others. Now, a really key point to this is it's not one for one. If I want ice cream, I don't have to, it's okay to make sure other people have ice cream, but if I want something pleasant in my future, I need to be sure others have pleasant things in their present. So I need to make sure I help someone get what they need whether it be a blanket to keep warm or another helping of food. You really have to think outside the box we tend to think of direct karma correlations, and I think that's an unfortunate mistake. Don't get me wrong, if you want to make sure I have ice cream, that's okay with me. But how many of you have had my curry ice cream? I don't think anybody. Katya, you did? When did we do that? Oh, that was in Barcelona, right? Yeah. Well, that's a long story. Okay, example from books. Oh, I've shared with you the declassification story, haven't I? Well, I like telling it, so I'm going to tell it again. When I write my book, sometimes I'm looking for classified information, and that can take up to, well, my record for requesting something to be declassified, I requested it in 2015 and finally got it in 2024. My book was published well before that, so it wasn't of any use to me. So I came across a document that I thought it was classified. I thought there's no way in God's green earth I'm going to get this declassified in time. So I forgot about it. And then I saw the reference to it again. I thought, I'm just going to make some inquiries and see if I can get this declassified in my lifetime. So I called the contact I have at the National Archives of the U.S. and I asked him to help me find the document. And he said, well, let me look on the shelves. So he went to the, I don't know how he could have found it this fast, but he did. And he found it there were 2 volumes, which I was looking for, in a box, except the box was empty, but it had 2 slips of paper in it. And the slips of paper told him where it was. Somebody else had needed it. So he went and found it, and he called me back and he said, I found him, David. What do you want to do? And I said, well, if they're not too heavily classified, I'd like to get copies. And he said, well, they're still classified, but let me go down and talk to my Freedom of Information Act officer. So he did, and he came back and he said, they're no longer classified. You can have copies of them. It was 800 pages, so it was not cheap to get them copied. But I take that to be an example of what I try and do when somebody needs something. I try and provide it to them as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, and dedicate that to my getting what I need in a rapid manner. Having done that for many years, that ripened for me to get this particular material declassified in a matter of hours. Now, the further part of the story that I find even more interesting is they sent it to our zip codes, 85713. They sent it to 85718. So it got to within about 2 miles of my house, and they couldn't deliver it, so they returned it to the National Archives. Now, this is happening while I was in Malaysia. So I got on my email and emailed the National Archive contact and told him what had happened. And he took care of it. So again, because I try to solve people's problems as quickly as I can and dedicate it, that helped me get what I needed quickly. So be thinking in that manner constantly during the day, and you'll be surprised how rapidly things will materialize. I had no thought that I would get that declassified in a matter of basically minutes. So now here's another interesting part of the story. I could have put it on the internet, but I wanted to be the one who released it first in my book. So I held on to it. And when I got done, I sent copies, email PDF copies to several people I knew would be interested. So I did hold back on the document for about, well, 6, 7, no more than that. Yeah, I'd say 6 or 7 years. No, years? No, 6 or 7 months. So that was depriving people of something. But so I'll reap some karma for that. But then when I gave it away, it cost me $1,000 to get copies made, and I gave it away for free. So maybe that'll mitigate my holding on to it. So our current approach to life will not lead to lasting happiness. How can we get lasting happiness? The secret is to expand our level of desire to be happy to include all other beings. So a quote from the Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Chapter 8, stanza 129. Whatever joy there is in this world all comes from desiring others to be happy. And whatever suffering there is in this world all comes from desiring myself to be happy. So in the United States, we're faced with a new president that I'm not particularly pleased with. But where's President Trump coming from? My past deeds and how I treated others. I didn't have to be a president to have this kind of mistreatment or thinking about people like President Trump does. So my wife and I try very hard to not complain. We try very hard to figure out what karma we did in the past to ripen with someone who has to be the center of attention. So again, we could complain, and that's setting the seeds for complaints in our future, or we can try and decide what we did in the past to make this present condition. And it's not too hard to come up with the need to be famous, the need to be a constant center of attention. I mean, President Trump will say something to get himself on the headlines, and that's just sad. But in the past, I must have done something similar, and now it's ripening, so I can complain about it, or I can say that karma ripened, it's burned, it's gone. I'm not going to be selfish and try and be the center of attention in the future and keep that thought process. And that's going to make eventually the thing that comes from President Trump go away. So if we consider ourselves Mahayana practitioners, the absolute key concept is something called bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the wish to reach enlightenment. Now, in the ACI notes, you'll find that bodhicitta is, student notes, bodhicitta is used for the wish to become enlightened or the wish to reach total enlightenment. Lord Maitreya's definition, which is in one of the courses in ACI, is a wish to reach total enlightenment in order to benefit all beings. That's Lord Maitreya's, that's the Mahayana definition. Bodhicitta, just as the word, is the wish to reach enlightenment, to have the mind of a Buddha. So if you're going to talk about what we as Mahayana practitioners want, that's total enlightenment. So when I was first studying this, I got confused because how could there be partial enlightenment? Well, enlightenment for self-made Buddhas and for the listeners' vehicles. Reaching nirvana is their enlightenment. They don't want to help other beings. They just want to achieve enlightenment for themselves. So that's nirvana, but that's not total enlightenment. So Mahayana practitioners wants to reach total enlightenment. And how does this help? How does this differ? How does it help all living beings? If I can get there, if I can get to total enlightenment, I can teach others. So now we're talking about taking renunciation from concern for others rather than just myself. If I'm unhappy with the condition of samsara, so must others, and I need to help them all. So bodhicitta comes in two flavors. Who can tell me the two forms of bodhicitta? Katrina?
Compassion.
Well, no, I'm looking for
like a wish and like action.
yes, very good. The wish, which is great, but even better is the form of action. So the wish is munsum in Tibetan, the wish to do so, but not engage in bodhisattva activities. And then juksum is Tibetan for engaging bodhicitta in the form of action. So how do we develop bodhicitta? You can do it either by exchanging self and others or the 7-part instruction in cause and effect. So first, and that's one we're going to describe. First, you have to see all beings as equal. You don't favor particular individuals. You don't have an attitude that some people are better than others. You treat everybody the same. Then that's the 0 step. The first step is seeing all beings as your mother. This doesn't mean to think of them or pretend that they're your mother, but to gain the realization that in all the many lives you've had, which are countless, at some point, every being has been your mother. This one's a little confusing, still confusing for me to really grasp. But I look at it as treat all other beings as if they were your mother. Remember, the next step is remember the kindness of your mother. This doesn't refer to whether you like her or not, but she did carry you for 9 months and suffered pain without choice to give birth to you. She gave up her freedom for you. You wouldn't be alive without her or your dad. I always add your dad to that. Then you want to repay her the kindness. Then you want to love all beings. So what's the difference between love and compassion? You know the difference? There's a real distinction. Love is wanting to make somebody happy. Compassion is wanting to take away their suffering. So I use my lovely wife as an example. When she has a headache, even though what would make her happy would be ice cream, that's the last thing she wants. She wants to be free from suffering a headache. So I get her a warm compress, and that often, or cold, depending on the kind of headache she has. And that reduces her suffering to where she could enjoy something to make her happy. So the key to me is when you're looking at this for somebody else, don't think about what you think would make them happy. Find out what would make them happy. Don't think about what you think would take away their suffering. Ask them. Find out what would take away their suffering. sometimes I think she needs a hot compress, and she says, no, just turn out the light and leave me alone. Okay, that's what's going to make her, that's what's going to take away her suffering. I don't get upset because I'm interested in taking away her suffering. That's only happened a couple of times. But it's very important to really stop and think about, observe what you're doing, because if you try and impose what you think someone wants, that's not helping. In fact, that may be hindering. The trouble is, many people, I have to get used to when someone asks me if I need help. Through all my life, I've been the one giving help. So it's hard for me to ask for help just because I don't want to inconvenience people. So you have to be very observant. You have to react with wisdom to the situation. And that can be difficult. Okay, so you want to repay the kindness of your mothers. Then you have love, and you have compassion. Then you have the extraordinary state of mind, the feeling that I will help everyone myself, even if no one else helps me. This is the feeling that comes just before and is the direct cause of bodhicitta, not being discouraged. And the last step in this cause and effect is the state of a bodhisattva, wanting to become a Buddha to help all other people. So we can do this if you keep those 7 steps in mind. That's reacting with wisdom and trying to help somebody else be happy or get rid of their suffering. So what can you do as a Buddhist to try and help others be free from suffering? You take the Bodhisattva vows and you practice the 6 perfections and you recite the 4 immeasurables every day. The Bodhisattva vows is a lot to grasp, but they made a huge difference in my life. So, the Bodhisattva vows are the only vows that you are supposed to study before you take them formally. When you take tantric vows, you don't know what you're getting into until you take them, and then you find out. The tantric vows are not they are a big deal. And there's nothing in the tantric vows that you wouldn't think would be in the vows. You just can't study them first. So it normally takes 3 times 10 to the 60th eons, with an eon being 20,000 years. It's called countless as a name, the largest number with a name. It takes 3 times 10 to the 60th eons to reach Buddhahood. By taking bodhisattva vows and keeping them well, you can speed this process up. And coupled with tantric vows, you can do it in one lifetime. So let's go ahead and get started on the road to taking the bodhisattva vows. The main source, Geshe wrote The Highway for Bodhisattvas, but it's never been translated. We're mostly studying the Bodhisattva vows from The String of Shining Jewels by Geshe Michael Roach. This work gives the vows and a succinct explanation of them. We'll be studying mostly from that book, and we'll use Geshe for difficult fine points. Other books containing the Bodhisattva vows, String of the Essence of Space, contains 13 of the Bodhisattva root vows. Sutra of Skillful Means has one Bodhisattva root vow. Bodhisattva Levels by Master of Sangha has 4 root vows. The books I just listed contain a total of 18 root vows in a compendium of advice by Master Shantideva took all 18 root vows and put them in one place. 20 verses on vows by Master Chandra Gomi is a classic with the 46 secondary vows. So there are a total of 64 Bodhisattva vows, 18 root vows and 46 secondary. You should not take them as being restrictive or dogma or limiting your life. They're a roadmap for reaching your enlightenment, whether it be in this time or later. They're liberating a code of conduct that can actually be fun to carry out. So this is a relatively short class. We're at the end of class for today. I don't like combining classes because that puts too much reading and homework on your shoulders. Question number 8 on the homework is in the reading. I'm not going over it because I want you to do the reading. You'll find the answer to question 8 in the homework. So this is the beginning of getting the Bodhisattva vows. It's not to be taken lightly, but you shouldn't be, well, we're going to go over the vows so you'll know what you're getting into. But it made a huge difference in my life. Huge difference. And you're getting them from English speaking instead of in Tibetan. So that's, well, for me, it's good. I'm not sure the rest of you, but okay. Is there any questions? No? Okay, let's dedicate class. Let me see. I have a long list of dedications, but here's our dedication. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma taught by the Buddhas, always increase. Through this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. Okay, we'll see you at Thursday at 10 a.m. Take care, everybody. Good to see you all. I'm happy to be teaching again. There are a couple people I don't recognize, Lana and Jialing Zhang. Oh, there's some chat. Do I need to look at the chat? No. Okay. We'll see you all on Thursday. Do your homeworks, redo the reading, and find that answer to question 8. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We're always waving. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.